Okay, since I did the video on spirituality and recovery, I've had a lot of people reach out, um, almost like grateful that I talked about that because, it's not something that's oftentimes brought up. Or I have a lot of clients who I didn't even know were spiritual, but since that video have kind of been like, so since, you believe in God, like, can you talk more about how that impacted your recovery? And if you're listening to this video and you are spiritual, well, then this will probably apply to you. If you're not at all, then maybe skip over it. And if you're considering it, or you have been in the past and maybe you're not now, maybe something that I say will resonate with you. When I was struggling with my eating disorder for a really long time, I kind of felt like an absence from God. I kind of felt like, where are you? Like, I'm asking for help. Come on, help me, help me, help me. And what I realized when I went into full recovery and why it felt different when I asked for help, I felt like I was getting it, because I was actually, like, my behaviors and my actions were actually lining up with His will for me, which was to fully recover. And I kind of love and hate the word surrender, but it was that when I finally decided, okay, I'm going to like surrender my will, my desires, what I feel like is important, what the world wants me to do. When I surrendered to that and I kind of turned my focus to like what God wants me to, which is what I knew all along, that He wanted me to be healthy. He wanted me to be a present mom. He wanted me to be full of life and energy and be able to focus on things that matter in life. Is when I didn't feel like my prayers were in vain. I felt like my prayers were really, truly getting to Him, and He was able, He was always there, right? Waiting to help, but I was able to actually feel that help and feel like just the burden was lifted just enough for me to be able to get through and do the things I needed to do. And so if you are spiritual and you haven't turned to Him and you haven't changed, worked on your part that you can do, changing these behaviors and doing your best, and then asking Him to, fill in where you can't and help you, please do. Please do. It's such an amazing spiritual experience. I feel like my relationship with God was so incredibly strengthened throughout my recovery because I was so humbled, right? When we're in our eating disorder, we don't exactly feel, at least I didn't feel humbled to the point where I was on my hands and knees begging and pleading for His help, because I didn't need it, because I didn't think I needed it, because I had my eating disorder I could fall back on, right? And it wasn't until I really, really, really needed it and I was so incredibly desperate that I went to Him and I could actually feel comfort and peace and more direction in knowing what and how I needed to be able to recover. A story, my daughter actually told me this, and I don't know where she heard it, but I loved it, talking about how God is always trying to help us. And sometimes we kind of miss the mark on that, or we miss seeing how His hand is in our lives. And she talked about how there's this guy on a boat and he was sinking, and this other boat came by and said, hey, do you need some help? And he said, oh, no, Jesus will help me. I'm good, thanks. And so the guy kept going, and another boat came up and said, hey, do you need some help? Do you need some help? Your boat's sinking. He said, no, Jesus is coming to help me. Don't worry. So the other boat passed by. And then eventually his boat sunk and he drowned, and he got to heaven, and he said, Jesus, why weren't you there? Why didn't you help me? He said, I sent 2 people to help you. Why didn't you let them help you? And so sometimes I think His hand is through people that you may be overlooking or not even acknowledging that they're in your lives and they want to help you, and they can help you if you let them. So I just thought that was a sweet story, and I just loved it. And I thought that totally applies. There are so many things, like looking back prior to me recovering, that I know that were people trying to help me. And I do believe that God was sending in my way. And I just was so prideful and so resistant to help. And so I think that goes along with kind of that surrender piece that we kind of have to humble ourselves enough to be able to do to recover. So anyways, hopefully this message resonates with some of you. And again, if not, I just ask that you're respectful. As I have these videos on spirituality, you're always welcome to skip over them if there's something that you don't align with. But I always, just occasionally, not always, I'll just have these promptings or feelings that I need to do a video and talk more about God. So here I am. All right. Have a good day. Bye.